Ambassador Velkith noticed the empty space on her first day. She stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Council, surrounded by delegates from 47 different species. The room was huge, with walls made of living crystal that changed color based on the mood of those inside. Right now, it glowed a calm blue. Velkith was new here, fresh from the Sarathi homeworld, and everything amazed her. But the map amazed her most of all. It floated in the center of the chamber, a perfect image of the entire galaxy. Billions of stars sparkled like dust caught in sunlight. Trade routes crossed between them like glowing threads. Every known world was marked and labeled. The Sarathi Collective controlled a small section near the outer rim. The ancient Drakon Empire spread across the core. Dozens of other species filled the spaces between. Yet there was a hole. Not a dark spot or a dangerous zone marked with warnings. Just nothing. A perfect sphere of empty space where no routes passed, no stations existed, and no labels appeared. It sat in a quiet arm of the galaxy, surrounding an ordinary yellow star. Velkith pointed at it with one of her forearms. "What is that place?" The delegate beside her, an old Fenari with gray fur and tired eyes, looked where she pointed. His body went stiff. Without a word, he turned and walked away. Strange, she thought. She asked another delegate, a tall Vorn with shimmering scales. He pretended not to hear her question. She asked a third, a small Kefi who usually loved to gossip. The Kefi made a sound like a frightened animal and hurried off. Velkith was confused but not discouraged. She had not become an ambassador by giving up easily. Over the next several days, she asked everyone she could find about the empty space on the map. The answers were always the same: silence, changed subjects, sudden appointments that required immediate attention. Nobody would talk about it. She went to the archives next. The Galactic Council kept records of everything. Every treaty, every war, every discovery made in the past 15,000 years. Surely she would find answers there. The archive was a massive building filled with data crystals that stretched toward a ceiling so high she could not see it. Automated systems floated through the air, fetching information for visitors. Velkith approached a terminal and entered her query. "Display all information regarding the stellar system in Sector 774, Orion Arm." The terminal flickered. Then a message appeared that she had never seen before, in any archive, on any world. "Access denied. No records exist." Velkith stared at the screen. No records exist? That was impossible. The council recorded everything. Even dead stars and empty space had files. She tried again with different words. She searched for trade routes that might pass nearby. She looked for old exploration reports from that region. Nothing. Every search came back empty. It was as if that part of space had been erased from history. She spent weeks investigating. She learned to be subtle about her questions, to approach the topic from the side instead of directly. Slowly, she gathered small pieces of information. The empty zone had a name, whispered only in private. They called it the Dead Zone. Ships that flew too close sometimes vanished. No species had sent an expedition there in over 12,000 years. 12,000 years. That was longer than most civilizations in the galaxy had existed. One evening, Velkith received a message on her private channel. It contained only an address and a time. She recognized the location as a medical facility in the lower levels of the station. Against her better judgment, she went. The facility was quiet and dimly lit. A nurse droid led her to a private room where an ancient Drakon lay on a bed designed for his massive body. The Drakon were the oldest species in the council, reptilian beings who had traveled between stars when most other races were still living in caves. This one was very old indeed. His scales had faded to dull gray, and his eyes were clouded with age. "You are the one asking questions," he said. His voice was weak but sharp. "I am," Velkith replied. "And no one will give me answers, because the answers are dangerous." The old Drakon coughed, a terrible rattling sound. "I am dying. I have perhaps 3 days left. That is the only reason I will speak to you now. The dead cannot be punished." Velkith moved closer. "What is in that empty space? What is everyone so afraid of?" "A world," the Drakon said. "A small blue world called Earth, and a species called humanity. I have never heard of them. No one has. We made sure of that." The Drakon closed his eyes for a moment, gathering strength. 12,000 years ago we were gods. The galactic fleet was the most powerful force ever assembled. 200 species working together. We had conquered every challenge, solved every problem. We thought nothing could stand against us. What happened? We found Earth. The old one's claws scraped against the bed. We expected primitives. We found something else entirely. They had been watching us for centuries, listening to our communications, learning our languages. When our fleet arrived, they were ready. Velketh felt cold despite the warm room. There was a war, if you can call it that. It lasted 11 days. 11 days, and they destroyed 60% of our forces. Not because they were stronger, because they were different. They adapted faster than any species we had ever seen. They invented new weapons during battles. They turned our own tactics against us within hours. They did not fight like rational beings. They fought like something wild, something that enjoyed the chaos. But you won, Velketh said. They are gone now. The Drakon made a sound that might have been a laugh. Won? We ran. We ran as fast as our ships could carry us. And before their last commander died, she sent us a message. She said they had spread themselves across 1,000 worlds. She said we would never know which species carried their blood. She told us to sleep well. Velketh's forearms trembled. Is it true? Did they really seed themselves across the galaxy? We do not know. That is what frightens the elders most of all. Any species we meet could carry human genes. Any world could harbor their descendants. So we erased them. We deleted every record, silenced every witness, made it forbidden to even speak their name. We pretended they never existed. Why are you telling me this? The old Drakon opened his clouded eyes and looked directly at her. Because I am tired of the lie. Because someone should know the truth. And because I can see in you the same curiosity that doomed us 12,000 years ago. You will not stop searching. So I give you this warning instead. He reached out and gripped her arm with surprising strength. Do not go to Earth. Do not look for humanity. The elders did not win the first war, young one. They chose to forget it. There is a difference, and whatever sleeps in that empty space, whatever waits on that small blue world, it is not dead. It is patient. It has been patient for 12,000 years. His grip loosened, his eyes closed. And patient things, he whispered, eventually wake up. 3 days later, the old Drakon died. Velketh attended no funeral because there was none. His body was quietly disposed of, his records sealed, his room cleaned and assigned to another patient. It was as if he had never existed. But Velketh remembered. She remembered every word. And late at night, alone in her quarters, she stared at the empty space on her personal star map and wondered what secrets Earth was hiding. She knew she should forget. She knew she should focus on her diplomatic duties and never think about humanity again. But she also knew, deep in her hearts, that she would not rest until she found the truth. The dead zone called to her, and she was going to answer. Velketh spent 6 months searching for the forbidden archives. She used every connection she had. She called in favors from old friends. She bribed officials with credits she could not afford to spend. She lied, cheated, and broke more laws than she could count. The trail led her across 12 different stations, through black markets and abandoned outposts, into the darkest corners of civilized space. Finally, she found what she was looking for. The archive was hidden on a dead moon orbiting a forgotten gas giant. No maps showed its location. No records mentioned its existence. The entrance was buried under a kilometer of rock, protected by security systems older than most species in the galaxy. But Velketh was clever. She had obtained the access codes from a retired archivist who owed her a debt. She had stolen a ship capable of avoiding detection. She had prepared for this moment for half a year. The door opened with a sound like thunder. Inside, she found a room filled with data crystals arranged in perfect rows. Each crystal glowed with a soft inner light. Each one contained information that the Galactic Council had tried to destroy. Wars they wanted forgotten. Crimes they wanted hidden. Truths they wanted buried. And in the center of the room, on a pedestal of black stone, sat a single crystal that pulsed with red light. Velketh knew immediately that this was what she sought. She took the crystal and inserted it into her portable reader. The device hummed as it processed ancient data formats. Then text began scrolling across the screen, accompanied by images and recordings that had not been seen in 12,000 years. The file was titled, The 11-Day War, Classified Level Omega. Velketh read through the night. What she learned changed everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. It began with the discovery of Earth. 12,000 years ago, the Galactic Expansion Fleet was at the height of its power. 217 species had joined together under the leadership of the Drakon Empire. They had mapped millions of star systems and catalogued thousands of intelligent species. Most were primitive, barely capable of building cities. Some were more advanced but still far behind the fleet. All of them eventually joined the galactic community, willingly or not. When the fleet detected radio signals from a small planet orbiting a yellow star, they expected another easy addition to their collection. The signals were crude, barely capable of reaching nearby stars. The species that sent them had only recently discovered nuclear power. By galactic standards, they were infants. The fleet sent a delegation of 50 ships to make first contact. None of those ships returned. The records showed what happened next. When the fleet arrived at Earth, they found that the humans had been listening. For over a century, humanity had intercepted galactic communications. They had decoded alien languages. They had studied alien technology from the signals alone. They had built weapons based on principles they should not have understood for another 1,000 years, and they had been waiting. The first battle lasted 6 hours. The fleet expected to overwhelm the primitive defenses with superior numbers and technology. Instead, they found a species that fought with a ferocity they had never encountered. Human pilots flew directly into enemy ships, sacrificing themselves to cause damage. Human soldiers boarded vessels and fought hand-to-hand in corridors designed for beings twice their size. Human commanders made decisions so unpredictable that the fleet's tactical computers could not calculate responses. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was how quickly they learned. By the second day, humans had captured enough alien technology to reverse engineer new weapons. By the third day, they were jamming fleet communications using methods invented hours earlier. By the fifth day, they had turned the fleet's own missiles against them, reprogramming guidance systems that should have been unhackable. The records included footage that made Velketh's blood run cold. She watched a human commander laugh as her ship burned around her, steering the wreckage into the engine core of a Drakon battlecruiser. She saw human soldiers continue fighting with wounds that would have killed any other species instantly. She witnessed scientists working in bombed-out laboratories, building new weapons while explosions shook the walls. They did not fight like beings who feared death. They fought like beings who had already accepted it and decided to make their deaths as expensive as possible. One recording haunted her more than any other. A fleet admiral, an ancient Drakon named HFY, had captured a human prisoner for interrogation. The human was a young female, barely adult by their species standards. She was injured, exhausted, and clearly knew she would not survive. HFY demanded to know their weaknesses. He threatened pain. He promised death. The human just smiled. "You want to know our weakness?" she said. "We don't have one. You see, every other species in the galaxy evolved in safety. You had millions of years to develop, to grow, to become civilized. But Earth is different. Our world tried to kill us every single day. Ice ages, volcanoes, predators, diseases, each other. We survived all of it. We are what happens when a species refuses to die." She leaned forward, her eyes bright with something that might have been madness or might have been joy. "You came here thinking you were gods, but you forgot something important. Gods can be killed. We've been killing our gods since we climbed down from the trees. You're just the newest ones on the list." HFY executed her immediately, but her words spread through the fleet like a disease. By the 8th day, fleet commanders were refusing to engage. By the 10th day, ships were retreating without orders. By the 11th day, the greatest military force in galactic history fled from a single planet like prey running from a predator. The humans did not pursue. They could not. Their entire military had been destroyed in the fighting. Their cities were ruins. Their population had been cut in half. They had won, but the cost was everything they had, or so the fleet believed. The final transmission came as the last fleet ships crossed out of the solar system. It was broadcast on every frequency, in every language, impossible to ignore. A woman appeared on screen. She was old, her hair white, her face marked by scars and exhaustion. She wore the uniform of a human military commander, torn and burned from battle. Behind her, fires raged across what had once been a great city. "This is Admiral Sarah Chen of Earth Defense Command," she said. "You came to our world as conquerors. You leave as survivors. Remember that." She paused, and when she spoke again, her voice was calm and cold. "But this is not over. You think you have escaped. You think you can run back to your empires and forget about us. You are wrong. Before your ships arrived, we sent our children into the darkness. Thousands of ships, carrying millions of frozen embryos, scattered across the galaxy. They will land on your worlds. They will grow among your people. They will look like you, speak like you, live like you. But they will carry our blood." The old admiral smiled, and Velketh saw the same expression she had seen on the face of the young prisoner. Joy in the face of death, victory and defeat. "Every species you meet from this day forward might be us. Every friend might be our descendant. Every enemy might carry our genes. You will never know for certain, and that uncertainty will poison everything you do. Forever." The transmission ended with a final message that appeared in text across every screen in the fleet. "Sleep well." Velketh sat in the darkness of the Forbidden Archive for a long time after she finished reading. Now she understood why the Elders had erased humanity from history. It was not simply fear of their fighting ability. It was fear of the unknown. Fear that the woman's final threat was real. Fear that humanity had spread itself so thoroughly through the galaxy that removing them was impossible. For 12,000 years, the great powers had watched each other with suspicion. Every new species discovered was secretly tested for human genetic markers. Every alliance was questioned. Every peace was doubted. The humans had lost the war. They had lost everything. But they had planted a seed of paranoia that had been growing ever since. Velketh made a decision in that moment. She had to know if the threat was real. She had to see Earth for herself. She had to learn if humanity was truly gone or if something still waited in that empty space that the galaxy feared so much. She copied the archive to her personal storage. She destroyed all evidence that she had been there. And she began planning a journey that no one had attempted in 12 millennia. She was going to the dead zone. She was going to Earth. And whatever she found there, she would bring the truth back to a galaxy built on lies. The journey to the dead zone took 3 months. Velketh had to be careful. She could not use official transport or registered routes. She could not tell anyone where she was going. If the council discovered her plan, she would disappear just like the old Drakon who had first told her about Earth. She found a smuggler willing to take her to the edge of the forbidden space. He was a Fenari named Court, old and scarred, and asking no questions as long as the credits were good. His ship was small and fast, designed to avoid attention. They traveled through back channels and abandoned shipping lanes. They stopped at stations that existed on no maps. They bribed patrol officers and hid from security scans. Slowly, they approached the border of the dead zone. Court stopped his ship at the last inhabited outpost, a mining station orbiting a brown dwarf star. Beyond it lay nothing but empty space for hundreds of light years. "This is as far as I go," he said. "You want to continue? You do it alone." Velketh had expected this. She had purchased a small shuttle, barely more than a cockpit with an engine attached. It would take her into the dead zone and, if she was lucky, bring her back out again. "Why do you want to go there?" Court asked as she prepared to leave. "Nothing good waits in that direction. Everyone knows it. I need to see for myself." Court shook his head. "Curiosity killed the Fenari, as my mother used to say. But it is your life to waste. Good luck, Ambassador. I hope you find whatever you are looking for." Velketh launched her shuttle and watched Court's ship disappear into the distance. Then she turned toward the darkness ahead and activated her engines. For 2 weeks, she flew through empty space. There was nothing to see. No stars nearby. No planets. No stations. No ships. Just the endless black void and the distant points of light that marked the rest of the galaxy. Velketh had never felt so alone in her entire life. Her instruments detected no signals. No energy readings. No signs of life. It was as if this part of space had been abandoned by the universe itself. Then, on the 15th day, she saw it. A yellow star appeared on her sensors, growing brighter as she approached. Around it orbited 8 planets, their surfaces dead and empty. And there, third from the sun, was a small blue world covered in clouds. Earth. Velketh held her breath as she approached. The planet was beautiful. Perhaps the most beautiful she had ever seen. Blue oceans sparkled under the yellow sun. Green and brown continents spread across the surface. White clouds drifted through the atmosphere. But that was not what made her heart stop. There were lights on the night side of the planet. thousands of them, arranged in patterns that could only be cities. Satellites orbited in perfect formation, their solar panels catching the sunlight. Ships moved between orbital stations, tiny specks against the vastness of space. Earth was not dead. Earth was alive. Velkeith's hands trembled on the controls. For 12,000 years, the galaxy had believed humanity was destroyed. For 12,000 years, they had avoided this place because they thought there was nothing left but ruins and ghosts. They were wrong. She tried to send a message back to the mining station, to warn Court, to tell someone what she had discovered. But her communications array was dead. Something was blocking all signals leaving the system. Then her sensors detected something else. There was a structure in the asteroid belt between the 4th and 5th planets. It was massive, larger than any station Velkeith had ever seen. Its surface was covered in symbols that matched no known language, and it was old, incredibly old. The design did not match human technology from the war records. It did not match any technology she recognized at all. As her shuttle approached, lights began activating across the structure's hull. Systems that had been dormant for millennia came alive. Sensors swept across her ship, analyzing everything from her engine type to her species to the air she was breathing. A voice spoke through her communication system. It was not speaking her language. It was speaking every language. Velkeith heard it in Sirathi, in Drakon, in Fenari, in a dozen other tongues she recognized and dozens more she did not, all at the same time, all perfectly synchronized. Observation Protocol Theta 7 activated. Visitor detected. Species identified as Sirathi. Threat level assessed as minimal. Welcome to the Sol system. Humanity appreciates your curiosity. Velkeith tried to respond, but her voice would not work. Her throat had gone dry with fear. The voice continued, calm and patient, as if it had been waiting for this moment for a very long time. You have traveled far to reach this place. You have asked questions that others feared to ask. You have sought truth in a galaxy built on lies. These qualities are admirable. They are also familiar. The structure's main hangar doors began to open, revealing a space large enough to hold 1,000 ships. Please proceed to Docking Bay 7. Atmosphere and gravity will be adjusted to match your biological requirements. Do not be afraid. You are not in danger. You are a guest. Velkeith wanted to run. Every instinct told her to turn her ship around and flee as fast as possible. But she had come too far to stop now. She had sacrificed too much to learn the truth. She guided her shuttle into the hangar. The doors closed behind her with a sound like a tomb sealing shut. Inside, the station was a museum of human history. Velkeith walked through corridors lined with artifacts from every era of human civilization. Stone tools from their earliest days, weapons from their countless wars, art and music and literature preserved for eternity. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The voice guided her deeper into the structure, through chambers filled with machines she could not understand and gardens where plants from Earth grew under artificial sunlight. Finally, she reached the central chamber. It was vast, a sphere kilometers across, filled with rows upon rows of glass containers. Inside each container floated a human body, perfectly preserved. Neither alive nor dead, there were thousands of them, tens of thousands, men, women, children, old and young, every variety of human she had seen in the ancient records and many more she had not. These are the sleepers, the voice said. 10,000 volunteers who chose to wait while their species evolved. They are the memory of what humanity was. And soon, they will wake to meet what humanity has become. Velkeith found her voice at last. What do you mean? What has humanity become? Look at Earth, visitor. Look at what 12,000 years of isolation has created. A screen appeared before her, showing the planet's surface in detail. She saw cities, yes, but not like any cities she knew. They flowed across the landscape like living things, structures of crystal and light that seemed to grow rather than be built. She saw beings moving through the streets, humanoid in shape but different somehow, taller, more graceful. Their movements were too fluid, too perfect. Evolution is slow, the voice explained. But guided evolution can be very fast. After the war, those who remained on Earth began a project that would span millennia. They changed themselves, generation by generation. They removed weaknesses and enhanced strengths. They became something new. They are still human? Velkeith asked. They are what humanity was always meant to be. They call themselves the Evolved, and they have been watching your galaxy for 12,000 years, learning from your mistakes, waiting for the right moment. Velketh's legs felt weak. Watching? How? The seeding protocol was not a bluff. Admiral Chen spoke the truth in her final transmission. Millions of human embryos were scattered across the galaxy. Most died, but some survived. Some grew, and some of them carried something special, a quantum link to Earth that allows the Evolved to see through their eyes. The screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. Thousands of points of light appeared on worlds across known space, marking locations Velketh recognized. Council worlds, homeworlds of the great powers, even her own planet. Human descendants exist on all of these worlds. Most do not know what they are, but the Evolved see what they see. They hear what they hear. They know every secret your council has tried to hide for 12,000 years. Velketh felt the world spinning around her. Why are you telling me this? Why reveal all of this now? The voice was silent for a moment. When it spoke again, there was something almost gentle in its tone. Because you asked. Because you were brave enough to seek the truth. And because the time for secrets is ending. Humanity has waited long enough. The Evolved are ready to return to the galaxy that tried to forget them. Alarms began sounding throughout the station. The glass containers started to glow with inner light. Resurrection protocol initiated. The sleepers are waking. And you, Velketh of the Sirathi Collective, will be the first to welcome them back. The chamber filled with sound as 10,000 human beings took their first breaths in 12,000 years, and Velketh, alone among aliens, watched as the greatest secret in galactic history opened its eyes. The first human Velketh met was a woman named Maya. She was short by human standards, with dark skin and silver hair that floated around her head as if gravity had forgotten about it. Her eyes were strange, reflecting light in ways that seemed impossible. She wore a simple white robe that appeared to be made of light itself. Maya smiled when she saw Velketh standing frozen among the waking sleepers. "Do not be afraid," she said. Her voice was warm, kind, nothing like the voices from the ancient war recordings. "I know. We must seem very strange to you. We have had a long time to change." Velketh struggled to find words. All around her, humans were rising from their containers, stretching muscles that had not moved in 12,000 years. Some laughed, some cried, some simply stood in silence, looking at each other with expressions of wonder. You are one of the Evolved," Velketh finally managed. Maya nodded. "I am. I came up from Earth when the station detected your approach. We have been waiting for a visitor for a very long time. We just did not expect it to take 12 millennia. Why are you here? What do you want?" Maya gestured for Velketh to follow her. They walked through the chamber of sleepers, passing hundreds of humans who watched them with curious eyes. "I want to answer your questions," Maya said. "All of them. You have come so far to find the truth. It would be cruel to hide it from you now." They entered a smaller room with transparent walls that looked out into space. Earth hung in the distance, blue and green and impossibly beautiful. Maya sat on a cushion that seemed to form from the floor itself. After a moment, Velketh sat across from her. "Ask," Maya said. "Whatever you want to know." Velketh had so many questions that she did not know where to begin. She started with the most important one. The sleepers. Why did they wait so long? Why not wake them centuries ago? Maya's expression became thoughtful. "Because they are a bridge. The sleepers remember what humanity was before the war. They carry our history, our culture, our original way of thinking. But the rest of us have changed so much that we barely recognize ourselves in the old records. When we return to the galaxy, we need both. The wisdom of the past and the capabilities of the present." "Changed how? What exactly are the Evolved?" "We are still human," Maya said. "Our DNA would look strange to your scientists, but the core is the same. What changed was everything else. Our minds process information faster. Our bodies heal from injuries that would kill our ancestors. We can control technology with our thoughts, communicate without speaking, and live for 500 years or more." Velketh felt a chill run through her. "You engineered yourselves. We had to. The war taught us that we could not survive by staying the same. The galaxy is vast and dangerous, filled with species that have millions of years of evolution behind them. We had only a few thousand years of civilization, so we took control of our own development." "But why? Why do any of this? You won the war. The fleet ran away. You could have rebuilt and lived in peace. Maya shook her head slowly. We did not win, Velketh. We survived. There is a difference. Our entire military was destroyed. Half our population was dead. Our cities were rubble, and we knew that someday the galaxy would come back. Maybe not in 100 years or 1,000, but eventually. When that day came, we needed to be ready. She waved her hand, and the transparent wall became a screen showing images of Earth through the ages. Velketh watched cities rise and fall. She saw humans change from generation to generation, becoming taller, more graceful, more alien. She saw disasters and triumphs, wars and peace, death and rebirth. For 12,000 years, we prepared, Maya continued. We built this station to preserve the original humans and to watch the galaxy. We developed technology that your council cannot imagine. And most importantly, we waited. Patience is humanity's greatest weapon, Velketh. We learned that lesson the hard way. The station said you have been watching the galaxy. Through the seeded. Maya nodded. Admiral Chen's final gambit. Most of the seed ships were destroyed, but enough survived. The embryos grew into children who grew into adults who had children of their own. By now, human DNA exists on hundreds of worlds, carried by millions of beings who do not even know what they are. And you can see through them? Not exactly. The original link was quantum-based, connecting certain genetic markers to receivers here on Earth. Over time, the connection faded, but not completely. We cannot control them or read their thoughts. But we can sense major events. We feel wars beginning and treaties signing. We experience emotions during moments of great joy or great tragedy. It is like hearing a distant song, beautiful but unclear. Velketh thought about the implications. The Council has spent 12,000 years wondering if the seeding was real. They have tested every species, analyzed every genetic sample, lived in constant fear of hidden humans among them. We know. Maya smiled. But there was sadness in it. We have watched them chase shadows for millennia. We have seen the suspicion poison their alliances and the fear corrupt their politics. In a way, Admiral Chen's threat worked even better than she intended. Humanity did not need to be present to change the galaxy. Just the possibility of our existence was enough. That is cruel, is it? Maya's eyes met hers. The galactic fleet came to our world without invitation. They expected to conquer primitives and add them to their collection like insects in a case. When we fought back, they tried to destroy us completely. The only reason they failed is because we made them afraid. Fear was the only weapon we had left. Velketh could not argue with that. She had read the records. She knew what the fleet had intended for humanity. What about the seeded themselves? She asked. Do they know what they are? Some do. Most do not. We have not interfered with their lives. They are citizens of their own worlds, living their own stories. But a few have felt the connection, heard the distant song, and wondered where it came from. Some of them even found their way here. Here? To Earth? Maya stood and gestured for Velketh to follow again. They walked deeper into the station, through corridors that seemed to go on forever. Finally, they reached a room filled with images, faces, thousands of faces, from dozens of different species. Fenari and Vorn and Kefi and races Velketh did not recognize, but there was something in their eyes that looked familiar. Something human. These are the ones who came home, Maya said. Over the past 12,000 years, hundreds of beings have felt the call and followed it to Earth. We welcomed them all. We told them the truth about their heritage, and we gave them a choice. What choice? To stay or to return. Most chose to stay. They live among us now, part of our society. Their alien heritage blended with our human core. But some went back to their worlds, carrying knowledge and purpose. They became our eyes and hands in the galaxy, working quietly to make things better. Velketh stared at the faces. You have agents everywhere. We have family everywhere. There is a difference. Maya's voice was firm but gentle. We do not control them. We do not command them. We simply showed them who they are and let them decide what to do with that knowledge. Most chose to help. Help how? The screen changed to show galactic maps marked with events. Wars that never happened because someone leaked information at the right moment. Plagues that were cured by mysteriously appearing researchers. Trade agreements that benefited struggling species because of anonymous suggestions. We have spent 12,000 years trying to repair the damage the old galactic order caused. Maya said. Not through conquest or control, but through careful, patient intervention. A word here, a discovery there. Small changes that add up over millennia. Velkith felt her understanding of the galaxy crumbling around her. The Council thinks they rule known space, but you have been guiding them this entire time. Guiding is too strong a word. We have been gardening, removing weeds when we can, planting seeds of cooperation and knowledge, hoping that someday, the galaxy would be ready to meet us again. Maya turned to face her fully. And now, thanks to you, that day has come. Because of me, you proved that curiosity still exists, that the Elder's fear has not completely crushed the desire to know the truth. If you could find your way here despite everything working against you, others can too. The walls are coming down, Velketh. It is time for humanity to step back into the light. Velketh looked at the faces on the screen, then at Maya, then at the distant blue jewel of Earth hanging in space. What happens now? She asked. Maya smiled, and in that smile, Velketh saw something ancient and patient and utterly without fear. Now we introduce ourselves properly. And you, brave ambassador from the Sarathi Collective, are going to help us. Velketh returned to the Galactic Council 6 months after she had left. She arrived not in her small shuttle but aboard a ship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was made of materials that seemed to shift between solid and light. It moved without engines anyone could detect, and it carried her directly to the heart of Nexus Prime, bypassing every security system as if they did not exist. The Council was in session when she walked through the doors. 47 species stopped their arguments and turned to stare at her. She had been declared missing, presumed dead. Her position had been given to another. Yet here she stood, alive and changed in ways that made even the ancient Drakon representatives lean back in their chairs. Behind her walked 3 figures in simple white robes. 2 were human. The third was a Fenari, with strange eyes. Velketh of the Sarathi Collective, the Council speaker announced, his voice uncertain. You were thought lost. Explain yourself. Velketh smiled. It was a human expression she had learned during her time on Earth. It seemed appropriate now. I went to the dead zone, she said. The chamber erupted in whispers and gasps. I found Earth, and I brought back a message. One of the humans stepped forward. It was Maya, her silver hair flowing, her presence filling the room despite her small size. My name is Maya Chen. I am a descendant of Admiral Sarah Chen, who commanded Earth's forces during the war you call the First Transgression. I have come to speak on behalf of humanity. The silence that followed was absolute. Representatives who had lived for centuries sat frozen in their seats. Even the ancient Drakon, who claimed to fear nothing, could not meet Maya's eyes. The Council speaker finally found his voice. This is impossible. Humanity was destroyed 12,000 years ago. Humanity survived, Maya said. We have been watching you ever since, waiting for the right moment to return. That moment is now. Fear spread through the chamber like fire through dry wood. Velketh could see it in the way delegates gripped their chairs, the way guards reached for weapons, the way the elders in the back rows tried to slip toward the exits. Maya raised her hand. Please, we did not come here for war. We did not come for revenge. We came to introduce ourselves and to offer something that has been missing from this galaxy for far too long. And what is that? The speaker asked, his voice shaking. Truth, Maya gestured, and the air above the chamber filled with images, star maps and historical records, scientific discoveries and cultural achievements, treaties and trade agreements, stretching back millennia. For 12,000 years, humanity has worked behind the scenes. We prevented wars before they started. We cured plagues that would have killed billions. We guided discoveries that improved life across hundreds of worlds. We did this quietly, without credit, without recognition, because we knew you were not ready to accept help from the species you tried to destroy. The images changed to show faces. Fenari, and Vorn, and Kefi, and others. Faces that Velketh now recognized from the room aboard the station. These are our family, descendants of the seeding, carrying human DNA mixed with the blood of other species. They live among you as your neighbors, your friends, your leaders. They are not spies or agents. They are citizens of your worlds who chose to help because they believed in a better future. The council chamber was absolutely silent. Maya continued. We could have remained hidden. We could have watched for another 12,000 years while you continued to fear shadows. But that time is over. Humanity has healed from the war. We have grown beyond what we were, and we are ready to take our place in the galactic community, not as conquerors, but as partners. The Drakon Elder finally spoke. His voice was old but strong. You expect us to believe this? After what you did to the fleet? After the terror you spread with your seeding? I expect nothing, Maya said. I only tell the truth. What you do with it is your choice. She stepped back, and the third figure in white moved forward. The Fenari with strange eyes looked out at the chamber with an expression that mixed sadness and hope. My name is Kern. I was born on Fenara Prime, raised by Fenari parents, lived my entire life as a Fenari citizen. 300 years ago, I began to hear a song that no one else could hear, a call that led me across the galaxy to Earth. There, I learned that my great-great-grandmother was a human seed, sent into the stars during the final days of the war. Kern's voice was steady despite the hostile stares from the council. I am human. I am Fenari. I am both. And I have spent 3 centuries working to make your galaxy a better place, not because humans told me to, but because I believed it was right. There are thousands like me, scattered across known space, living ordinary lives while carrying extraordinary heritage. The council speaker looked from Kern to Maya to Velketh. His face showed the struggle of someone whose entire understanding of reality had just collapsed. What do you want from us? Maya smiled. We want to stop hiding. We want to share our knowledge and our resources openly instead of through secret channels. We want to help you build a galaxy where fear and suspicion do not rule. We want to come home. She spread her arms wide. The dead zone can remain on your maps if you wish, but Earth will no longer be forbidden. Anyone who wishes to visit is welcome. Anyone who wants to learn from us can. And anyone who carries human blood, no matter how distant, has a family waiting for them. The council erupted into chaos. Some delegates shouted in anger. Others called for calm. A few simply sat with tears running down their faces, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they were witnessing. But Velketh noticed something else. In the back rows, where the elders sat, there was silence. The ancient Drakon and the old powers who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were not arguing. They were watching, and in their eyes, Velketh saw something she had never expected to see: relief. Later, after the session had ended and the delegates had scattered to send urgent messages to their homeworlds, Velketh found the oldest Drakon elder alone in a garden. You knew, she said. You knew they were still alive. The elder did not look at her. His eyes were fixed on a small plant, something native to Earth that had somehow found its way to Nexus Prime. We suspected, he said. There were signs over the millennia, discoveries that appeared from nowhere, catastrophes that were averted by unlikely coincidences. The universe seemed to be protecting itself, and we could not explain how. He finally looked at her. Part of us hoped, and part of us feared. Why? Because if humanity survived, everything we told ourselves was a lie. We did not defeat them. We did not drive them to extinction. We ran away and hid behind our own propaganda, while they quietly rebuilt and surpassed us. The elder made a sound that might have been a laugh. The greatest military force in galactic history was defeated by a species so patient that they let us think we had won for 12,000 years. Velketh considered this. You are not angry? I am tired, the elder said. 12,000 years of fear is exhausting. If they wanted revenge, they would have taken it long ago. Perhaps it is time to stop looking over our shoulders and start moving forward. In the months that followed, humanity spread across the galaxy like dawn breaking over a dark world. They did not arrive in warships or demand submission. They came with gifts of knowledge and offers of friendship. They opened Earth to visitors and welcomed anyone who wanted to see the world that had frightened the galaxy for so long. What the visitors found surprised them. Earth was beautiful and strange, filled with creatures and landscapes unlike anything else in known space. The humans living there were welcoming and kind, eager to share their stories and learn about the species they had watched from afar for millennia. The evolved walked among the stars, tall and graceful, their strange eyes reflecting starlight. The awakened sleepers returned to worlds their ancestors had known only through ancient records. The seeded descendants stood proud, finally understanding the heritage that had always set them slightly apart. Change did not come quickly. Fear and suspicion do not vanish overnight. There were those who refused to accept humanity's return, who clung to old hatreds and ancient grudges. But slowly, over years and decades. The walls came down. Velketh watched it all unfold from her new position as the first official galactic ambassador to Earth. She had found her truth, and it had transformed her into a bridge between two peoples who had been separated by fear for 12,000 years. One evening, she stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt city where Admiral Chen had made her final transmission. Maya stood beside her, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and gold. "Do you ever regret it?" Velketh asked. "The waiting, the hiding, the patience that lasted longer than most civilizations exist?" Maya was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was soft. "We had no choice. The galaxy was not ready for us, and we were not ready for it. Some things cannot be rushed. Trust must be built one moment at a time, over years and centuries and millennia, if necessary." She smiled. "But no, I do not regret it. Everything we sacrificed, everything we waited for, led to this, a galaxy where our children can walk freely among the stars. Below them, the city hummed with life. Humans and aliens walked side by side through streets that had once been ruins. Ships rose into the sky carrying visitors back to 100 different worlds. Somewhere, a child laughed at a joke told by a being whose species had once tried to destroy humanity. The dead zone was not dead. It never had been. It had been sleeping, gathering strength, preparing for the day when patience would finally be rewarded. And now, after 12,000 years, Earth had awakened. The galactic elders had been right to fear it, but not for the reasons they thought. They had feared destruction, conquest, revenge. Instead, humanity had given them something far more dangerous: hope. The stars continued their endless dance above the planet that had changed the galaxy simply by surviving. And humanity, patient as ever, smiled and looked toward the future they had spent millennia building. Their work was just beginning.